All right, guys, welcome back. It's Tush coming at you, December the 14th, 2024, and it's cold outside today. It's about minus 13 degrees Celsius outside and pretty chilly out in the garage, so we thought we'd come down in the basement and do a little bit of a project that I've been trying to get to for some time now since we did our garage renovation project. If you recall, my garage, for some of you longtime viewers, I used to have a mezzanine in the garage, and on the mezzanine, it had a lot of parts being stored on the mezzanine and under the mezzanine. Well, of course, I don't have that now, so I've moved all those bins that were out in the garage down into my basement, and this is what this area now looks like, full of car parts. And as you can imagine, I've got quite a few parts, having quite a few cars from TR3s all the way up to TR8s, and some Alfa Romeo stuff as well, Alfa Romeo Spider stuff. So this is one little corner of the basement, and then if I just spin around here, we've got another corner over here, which is just as much of a disaster. Now, a lot of this is my own fault, and some of it's not my fault. For example, I often get emails from people who are saying, you know, I've got rid of my car and I have parts left over. They're going to the dump. I don't really want to throw them out, but if you want to come get them and pick them up, they're yours for free. So I end up picking up other people's junk and storing it here in the hopes that I'll be able to either utilize it myself or give it away to somebody who actually needs some parts. And in some cases that worked out okay, and in some cases I end up having a ton of junk that I'll never be able to get rid of. Anyway, despite that, what the problem is now is I'm looking for parts for the TR3, for example, and the bins have become so disorganized. You know, I've got mixtures of TR3 bins with TR250 and TR6 bins. I'm having to go through a number of bins to find what I'm actually looking for. So as an example, I was looking for the stone guards for the area that I'm working on the TR3 right now. I just want to make sure that the stone guards fit. So I've found some of the stone guards, but I'm missing the smaller stone guards. And I can't find those yet, so I've got to go through all the bins to find those. Other things like hood hinges. I broke the hood or the bonnet hinges. We broke a set or stripped out one of the studs, so I was looking for another set of bonnet hinges. And I know I have a few sets down here, and actually I came down last night and I started going through the bins. That's why they're so disorderly. Normally they're all at least stacked up a little bit more nicely, but I started going through bins last night. I ended up finding, I think, 4 more sets of bonnet hinges that are usable. So I want to be able to go through the bins and make them a little bit more orderly and organized to see what actual parts I have to be able to use for my current project. I'm not so concerned about the TR250 or TR6 or TR4 or TR8 spares because I don't need those currently. So we're just going to try to sort out what I require for my current project, and that's the 59 TR3A that I'm working on. So the intent really is to go through the bins and get them organized. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to clean out this whole area of this side of the garage, side of the basement, and move it over to this area here. And that way I'll have a clean area over in this area, just sort of lay parts out. Maybe we'll, consider that wall over there where my hard top is for the TR3. We'll get that out of there. That will be considered the front of the car, and then we'll make this area back here the rear of the car, and I'll be able to sort of lay parts out where they will actually fit back on the car to see what I have, and then eventually we'll probably end up putting them back into bins by category. For example, we'll keep all the electrical stuff together, we'll keep all the suspension stuff together, and so on and so forth. So that's the plan for organization down here. So I thought I'd tell you, or just give you a quick video of what I'm actually doing down here, so you can sort of feel my pain having to go through all these bins down here and get them a little bit more organized. It's actually kind of fun to go through the bins and to remember what you have and to find, I'm going through the bins and I'm finding brand new parts that are packed in with the old parts. So I'm going to try to keep those parts separate. I mean, for example, here, I need this. I found this yesterday. This is, I believe, goes where the gas cap is, or the filler cap on the body. So I need this, brand new. Found that yesterday, and there's a whole bunch more brand new parts in here, gaskets and stuff. So it's always kind of fun to find stuff that you forgot you actually had and stuff you don't need to actually buy. Anyway, that's what we're doing. So maybe I'll bring you along the way when we crack open a bin or two. We'll have a quick look, and anyway, we'll get this a little bit more organized, and we'll bring you back when we do so. All right, after a couple of hours of moving bins around and getting it a little bit more organized, it's a bit of a disaster still on the far side, but we made ourselves a nice little seating area over here, hardtop storage temporarily, moved some tables around and cleaned up some floor space. So I guess the process begins. We'll go bin by bin and figure out what's for TR3 and what isn't. So the plan is just to keep the TR3 stuff here. Like I said, unbox it, maybe lay it out on the floor, see what we have. Eventually box it back up. Anything that's TR250 or TR8 related or TR4 related, we'll go back over on the right hand side and we'll get back to that when we need to get back to TR8 parts, for example. We'll find those later at a later date, but for now we're just concentrating on TR3 parts. All right guys, welcome back. Now Sunday, and we're picking up where we left off. So we managed to go through I know the lighting's not great down here yesterday. We went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looks like about 6 bins yesterday. And we've got them all emptied out and displayed on the floor over here. Also went through a couple other bins that are containing TR6 and 250 parts. So we're just going to leave, like I'd mentioned yesterday, we'll leave those bins to the side, but we'll clean those up a little bit and condense the contents into fewer bins if possible. So we do have a pile over here that we still need to go through. A lot of these are bags with fasteners or gaskets or that kind of thing. Some trim pieces, some hoses, etc. that don't really fit into this pile over here. The plan is to really go through any of the fastener bags and rebag them, retag them, and clean them up, and then sort of get them into a little bit better organization than they are currently, so we can find them when we need to go back to assemble the car. So this pile here will get sorted later, but anyway, we'll continue on going through the rest of the bins over here and put parts on the floor as we see fit, and empty some more bins. All right, there's the update. All right, just got back from a quick break for our lunch, and still making progress. The pile is growing, and the number of empty bins is growing as well. One thing just sort of made this whole effort worthwhile for me. I just found almost 40 cage nuts. Now, that may not seem like a big deal. I don't know if I was talking about these cage nuts before, but 12 cage nuts. If I go on eBay and look at the Macy's Garage website where I bought these cage nuts from, 12 cage nuts in today's world from Macy's are $29 US. So $29 US is probably, I'm going to say, let's say that's $35 Canadian, and I believe the shipping was going to be another $20 US. So I think I just figured out that between the 1/4 inch and the 5/16 cage nuts that I found, I think I had about close to $180 worth of cage nuts that I just found in my parts bin. So that's made it all worthwhile despite everything else. Anyway, we'll continue on going through the bins until we have all the TR3 bins emptied. I'm finding some cool stuff out here. Here's an original Lucas trim ring, headlight trim ring. It's a narrow one. I don't know if it'll necessarily work for a TR3, but it's kind of cool that it's still got the original Lucas box. Found some really cool old Marshall halogen lights. Those are cool. So yeah, I've got some cool parts in stock. I don't know how many oil filters I have for the stock canisters. I don't even use those anymore, so I've got those kicking around. I don't know how many starters and generators I have. There's a couple there, a starter there, and a couple generators, and I've got another box over here. You probably can't see inside, with 3 more starters. Got quite a collection of hubcaps going over in this one. So previous owner of the 59 actually ran with these hubcaps, which are not the stock ones. I've got a good selection of stock ones here, and I know I have at least 4 in the garage up on top of the cabinet. So, and I probably have a few more kicking around somewhere. I think I do. So that's kind of interesting. I'm cornering the market on hubcaps. Anyway, we'll continue on making progress. All right, guys, welcome back to day 3.5 or so of the basement parts reorganization project. And as you can probably tell, we have even more parts strewn about the floor, including a few sets of SU carburetors I found over there. Found 4 more hubcaps to add to the collection. So we're getting to the point though where we can actually start organizing this stuff now to put it back into bins. So believe it or not, we actually have that side of the garage looking a little bit better. And we've got the TR6, TR250, TR4, TR8 sort of stuff tucked away into bins and organized. So now we've got a lot of empty bins here to fill up and categorize the parts that are here on the floor. So we're going to figure out how we're going to do that. We're going to do things like, you know, when we put stuff in the bins, we're going to do like brakes and suspension parts, for example, will be one bin. We'll do electrical in another bin. We'll do body fixings in another bin. We'll do whatever makes sense, and we'll make sure obviously we label the bin with the contents later. I did actually buy a large shelf today or this morning, and we're going to erect it against that wall over there and put our bins for our current projects at least on that shelf once it's assembled. It's a big one. So anyway, without further ado, let's get crack-a-lackin' for the day and start organizing some of these parts into bins. All right, we've got all our parts off the floor and in bins. So it looks like we've got, what, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, probably 10 or 11 bins actually to go somewhere eventually. And we've got our shelving unit downstairs. We've just unpacked it upstairs and brought it down piece by piece. It's pretty heavy. So we're just about to go out the garage and grab a rubber mallet and maybe a pair of gloves, and we'll start assembling that rack and put it against that wall, and then we'll throw some bins up there and see what it looks like. All right, guys, the new shelf is up, and I think it's going to be perfect, actually. I may move this shelf down a little bit further just to give me a little bit more room from coming down the staircase, but other than that, it's great. So this shelf is 1,000 pounds holding capacity per shelf, so that should be sufficient. I would say it went together nice and easily. So yeah, so I guess we'll fill it up with some bins now and see what it looks like. All right, guys, it's the next day, and we are definitely getting there. Still lots of work to be done, but things are definitely looking up. So a bunch of small stuff to sort through over here. We've got all our old trim panels out, and we'll try to get those maybe up on the rack between some bins. We'll see. I'd like to keep all the TR3 stuff together if possible, but we'll see if we have enough room to get it up on the rack or not. It can always rest up on top of the bins. These are all basically TR3 parts with the exception of this one bin up in the corner here, which is all my painting stuff, so my spray guns and cups and that kind of stuff up there in the top left. So I can always move that bin down if I don't have room for just the TR3 stuff. So I think we're going to, as I'd mentioned yesterday, I think we're going to try to move these racks around a little bit. This room over here, if you're wondering, is a cold storage room. So it does need to be reorganized. So maybe what we'll do is do some reorg in here and be able to get one of these shelves in here. It is a cold room. I generally use it as equipment storage for my cooking stuff. So it's pretty much full of old pots and pans and serving trays and chafing dishes, etc. So that room could probably do with a little reorganization as well. So I think what we'll do is maybe start there and get that room organized so we can get this area out here cleaned up a little bit and then move on with the TR3 stuff. All right, Wednesday afternoon in the snow, and we're off to the dump with a pretty good load. Got a bunch of cardboard that's got to go. That'll have to be another day because that recycling area is closed today, so we'll go tomorrow to get rid of that. Anyway, about a 25-minute drive ahead of us. Let's get crack-a-lackin'. All right, we're coming to the end of our basement reorganization and parts reorganization project. And we have these bins here that, if you recall, earlier in the week, I'd gone through the bins and taken all the fasteners out and rebagged and titled or labeled those. So, you know, we have basically everything labeled as far as bag hardware is concerned here. So it's easy access. So we've got a few of those bins, 1, 2, 3, and then we've got some parts in the original boxes here that I just figured I would keep in the original boxes for reference. And I think we'll make some room now on our shelf, and we'll come back and take you on one last tour of the basement before we call this project done. All right, guys, one last video to wrap this project up. and it looks significantly different. And we'll start over in the corner here, and we've just got the hard top resting over here in this corner out of the way. And this looks, I think, significantly better than what we started with. So there is our new shelving unit, all organized with our TR3A TR3 parts. So that's looking very good. That worked out pretty well. That shelf was on sale for, I think it was around $230. So money well invested, I think, there. So I've got everything that we need here to assemble at least 2 TR3s, maybe 3. I did have a parts car TR3 at one point that we have parts in these bins for as well. So everything is accessible. I still need to go through and wash the box tops and do a little bit of labeling, but as far as the bin organization, that is all done. Some of you may want to have a look at this room over here since I didn't show you what's inside. This is my cold storage room, which I also use for just equipment storage for some catering and some cooking. And if you recall, I mentioned that I was going to be moving this shelf with my small equipment in here, so that fits nicely against this wall, and then the central vac we store in here as well. So that's looking good, nice and organized, and a little bit cleaner than it was. So happy with that. So there's that room. Let's have a look at the rest of the garage. So yeah, so this is looking a little bit better. Again, remove that shelf that I just showed you off of this wall over here. Found that British flag actually in one of the parts bins, so we decided to put that up. So yeah, nice to have floor space. We moved the chair out here. It used to be over in that corner over there, and we just moved it here, so we have a little sitting area. We want to go through and sort some parts, or just look at our shelf and wonder why we have so many parts. Future project. Our wine rack over here, our ladder over here, and then we did go through and reorganize this area back here. All of our excess seats now lined up and covered just to keep the dust off them. And these are all TR6, 250, TR8 parts, some TR4 parts, some Alfa Romeo parts, etc. So that will be the next bunch of bins that we go through, and we start the 70 TR6 PI project. We'll go through these bins and do the same thing. The intent is obviously that the rack that's over at that side of the garage will be used for current projects. So eventually this rack should become somewhat more empty as parts go back on the car or parts go to their other homes. For example, there are some parts here in these bins that will need to go to a Lynn's project. So once I'm done with my project, I'll divest my stuff of my TR3 parts that I have left over to help him with his project. So that will get thinned out at least. And then, like we said, we'll end up doing the same with the TR6 parts once the PI project is finished. And then after that, we've got an 81 TR8 fuel injected project to work on. And then we're done as far as the projects are concerned. So yeah, some stuff to be thrown out. The old Papasan chair frame's got to go in the garbage. The TV, although it works, I mean, it's ancient technology now, although it's probably only, I don't know, 20 years old. That was a good TV when it was purchased back in the day, but it's going to go to the electronic recycling bin along with that old JVC receiver, some old monitors down there, so we'll have to make a trip to the dump at some point. We got an old PSB subwoofer here that's going to go as well. So some cleanup to still be done down here, make a little bit more room, but other than that, it's looking much, much better than it was, and I've got lots more space down here to play with. Anyway, that's it for the project. So again, it took a while to do it. It took probably 6 days of working, probably 6 hours per day, 6 to 8 hours per day on this project. So, but in the end, I'm happy, and makes me feel better when things are a little bit more organized, a little less chaotic, and we can actually move back down here in the garage. So this was a secondary part of the garage makeover project. Obviously, as I'd mentioned, everything from the garage basically got moved down to the basement. So now we've got the basement reorganized a little bit better to look a little bit more like how the garage space is organized. So that's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting, and thanks for subscribing. We will see you on the next video. Hopefully that will be out in the garage.